Right, here we are again, a little bit further into our repaint. We've stripped the boat down, as we said we would, down to bare steel. All fixtures and fittings removed. We mentioned before, any steel that needs it, we've had dressed. We actually got some guys in to professionally do this. And all rust has also been treated. It is important, if you suspect there's any rust left, having ground out and treated as much as you can, that you put a proprietary rust treatment on there just to make sure you've killed off anything. You don't want anything coming back once you've started painting. The next stage then for us is to fill where necessary. You'll always get seams on your boat. In some cases they're almost invisible, in other cases not so. It doesn't do any harm just to skim over just to make sure that those seams become invisible. Perhaps just worth mentioning, people talk about using fillers. Most manufacturers are quite happy for you to fill straight onto steel as long as it's got the appropriate key, as in it's been ground down and it's got something to stick to. If you're using 2-pack epoxies, some manufacturers suggest that the epoxy goes on first, so you're priming the boat and then filling afterwards. It's a case of checking data sheets, seeing what's going to suit you best for the job you're doing. We're now at the stage, having done all the treatment, we've finished all our priming, all the rubbing down's been done. The boat's been washed on 2 occasions. It's been completely washed over with a silicone removal product, so that any residue left around the windows where the windows were fitted, any silicones around doors, any apertures where people have tried to make sure there's no ingress of water, once you remove that silicone there's always trace left. So it's worthwhile buying a good silicone remover to get rid of that. That's fairly important. If you don't, and it doesn't always show up in the primer and undercoating stage, but you may get to the gloss stage and suddenly find spots appearing. It's almost like as if the paint won't adhere to the surface. It just keeps moving away. A bit like painting over candle wax or something like that. You can still do something at that stage, but far better to use a good product now and you don't have it. To make sure there's no residues left, no oils, greases or anything else, we then degrease the boat as well. So we've made a thorough job to make sure this steel is as clean as we can get it. With that as our background, we're now ready to start considering putting some primer on the boat. Here at John Barnard Limited, our process is we use a 10-coat system, and the first part of that system is 4 coats of primer. Now that just adheres to the manufacturer's recommended applications. You will hear people saying, oh, we only put 2 coats on because we put it on with a brush, or various other reasons and remedies as to why 1 coat, 2 coats, 3 coats or whatever is sufficient. It's important that you have a look at the data sheets supplied by manufacturers. The reason they're telling you to put 4 coats on, either rolled or brushed at a certain thickness, is to allow the paint to dry at the right rate, and that's quite important. We can all put more paint on, but if that inhibits the way in which the paint dries, so that it, if you like, skins over on the surface, remains wet underneath for too long, you can get solvent entrapment, you can get other problems arising, which will only mean later on you're going to start suffering problems with your paintwork. So it's important to read your data sheets, make sure you're putting on the required number of coats at the right thickness, and using things like dry wet film thickness combs is a fairly easy and simple process, the sort of things we show people how to do on our painting courses. So this is the next stage then. We're going to attack this, 4 coats of primer, and then because of the system we use, we'll be going straight on with undercoats. But hopefully we'll get back to you before then, and we'll explain a little bit more as we go on.